Okay, this is the Representative Party Podcast, and I am just John. Today's subject, for about 5 to 7 minutes, is going to be on homelessness and panhandling. And it's also, it has to do with what I've learned from my journey to Japan recently, of which I saw no homelessness and I saw no panhandling. I did hear that there was some maybe closer to downtown Tokyo or something, but out where I was at, which was all city and it was all connected, there was nothing. And I kind of liked the way I understood the way they handled their homelessness, and they provide housing and food, and I imagine some kind of a stipend for people that are out of work, and so they have homes, they have a place to sleep, they're off the streets, they're warm, they have food, but they work. Now some people would call that forced labor. We would have a hard time in this country understanding that getting people to work is it's a thing that I think most people want. You know, maybe after 3 or 4 or 5 generations of welfare that we've had, that we need to put a stop to it. It's going to take some courage, and it's going to take some hard decisions to make when you tell someone, you're going to have to go to work. We're going to put you up here. You can't sleep on the streets anymore. You can't get under the bridges and shoot drugs up anymore. You can't stand on the corner and beg people and say you've had such a hard life, because then, and maybe you have, but here's a way to fix that. Get you off the street, get you a place where you could stay cleaned up, and but you're going to have to work for it, because there's nothing free here. But we've gone to where it isn't a shame to be out of work. It isn't a shame to be a beggar. It isn't shameful. But I was somewhat explained to today, or just kind of reminded that the Japanese culture is like 10,000 years old, and we're like 250 years old. So we're still an infant when it comes to maturing as a nation and becoming stronger and being able to make those hard decisions. And maybe it's time. We've had a century and a half of there's a lot of people in other countries look at us as the Wild West, and part of that probably helps keep us a little bit free from invasion, because most nations think if the U.S. is attacked, there'll be a gun behind every tree, and they're not too far wrong from that, because there's a lot more weapons in this country than there are people. So, and that's a whole nother issue that I'll get into on how they were able to, in an area of 35 million where I was at, they only had 7 homicides. But I don't like the way they do it. But I think we can learn from it, and I think we can figure out how to make our streets safer if we just have the courage to do the tough things that have to be done. So anyway, I'd like to hear some opinions from somebody out there on what they think about forcing people off the streets, building places, and I don't mean tents. I mean putting up taking our tax dollars, and instead of wasting it on whatever frivolous thing somebody wants, actually put it to use to get the people back on their feet. I don't mind giving out a handout if I know the idea is that eventually this person's going to be a tax-paying citizen, and they're going to be working, and they're going to maybe learn a skill. There's a lot of things we can offer up. There's a lot of things that different charities do, that if we could combine them and put them together, we could afford to put the homeless in places where it's warm. And if they don't want to, well, that's a whole different story. Uh, in my harshness, I would probably say those people need to be put someplace whether they want to be there or not. And if that's in jail, if we decide that homelessness and panhandling is an offense, then we have to have the courage to enforce it, and we have to try to bring people around to where over the next generation or so, then the kind of the like. If I can't care for my family, I'm a little like ashamed. I mean, I know young women that take on 2 or 3 jobs just so they can keep their family together. And what's different between them and these people that are out panhandling? And I believe it's just the moral courage and their own personal idea of what an adult does, and what a parent, what a mother, what a father does. So anyway, that's my thoughts for today. I'll speak plenty on this over the next few years or whatever, however long I do this. I don't intend to stop. I think change can be done by one person, and I can just say, why not start with me? So with that, I'd just like to, as I always do, I'd like to tell you all to go out, make somebody smile, make somebody's life just a little bit better today, and sometimes that just takes a smile. And for God's sake, let's just love one another. This is just John, and I'll see you next time.